G'day everyone, I'm David Reidy. Welcome to Piano Finally, a podcast by an old bloke who's getting around to learning the piano. Finally. Welcome to show number 76. Thank you very much for listening. If you're back for another episode, then thanks for returning. If this is the first time you're hearing the podcast, I hope you enjoy what's in the show. And don't forget to subscribe if you do like it. Are you also learning a musical instrument? If you are, let me know how you're going with it. You can contact me at david@pianofinally.show. You would think that I would have found plenty of time throughout the week to get more practice done. I did get a bit more done than the previous week, but nowhere near as much as I had hoped. In the run-up to Christmas, more things keep popping up. Also, I've gone back to swimming a second time each day on the way home. Despite the heart rate study Yu Wang was part of, I still think I get more exercise swimming than practicing. You may hear the 3D printer in the background again this week. It's busy making small presents for the staff Christmas party in 2 weeks. 3D printing is useful for that sort of thing. It lets you make personalised presents fairly easily. I still haven't found anything to print that might be useful at the piano. Maybe it's best to keep the two separate. I've spoken about Ryan Abshear's videos on the podcast a number of times, mostly because he makes some really interesting content. It also doesn't hurt that he's a huge Beethoven fan and includes a lot of his music. This week, however, Ryan's video is about something completely different. The full title of the video is Piano Myth or Fact: Do Kids Learn Faster Than Adults? It looks at the perception that children learn the piano faster and more easily than adults and discusses what is actually going on. Ryan makes the point that some of the perception that children learn faster than adults comes from underestimating the amount of time the child has spent learning their instrument. It's quite possible that a 10-year-old who is playing some difficult piece has been learning for the past 6 years, and their playing is appropriate for that many years of practice. It also comes from the fact that, as adults, we're used to learning things quite quickly. Away from the piano, if I want to learn a new skill, I expect to get somewhere fairly quickly. I'm learning the fusion section of DaVinci Resolve at the moment, and after a week or two, I am able to produce quite complex video output. Maybe not to the equivalent level of a Beethoven sonata, but the equivalent of a pop song. Another thing to take into account is that a motivated child can have a lot more time available to them to practice. Most children won't have a work commitment. Yes, there's school, but that's not the same. And although they might have jobs to do around the house, it will be less work than an adult would do. So it's not surprising that they can make faster progress when measured by the week or the month, but probably no faster when measured by the hour. Ryan's video is well worth a watch. It certainly got me thinking and will probably be the topic I return to in next week's essay. There's a link to the video in the show notes. In public. A couple of things happened during the week that got me thinking about the topic for this week's essay. My take on the topic is most definitely influenced by the experiences I have had along the way, experiences which have almost always been positive. And the topic is doing things in public. There have been a few things over the past few weeks that got me thinking about this. In no particular order, they've been joining the choir, listening to some of my students perform at the school assembly, coaching for the public speaking competition, and being told that the podcast has inspired someone to try something new. Doing things in public is apparently scary. At least that's what I've heard. It's not actually harder than doing something in private. After all, it doesn't take more energy to speak if there are a lot of people listening to you. It's harder because of the expectations we put on ourselves. Turning doing things in public from being scary to being exciting all comes down to your approach. The scary part comes from fearing that people will judge you for your performance, whether that is something musical or anything else that you're putting yourself out for. The fear is that the audience might realise that you didn't perform to the high standard you have set for yourself, a standard that may be impossibly high. We all want to do our very best, but the problem is when we want to be the very best rather than just our own very best. Also, your audience doesn't know what standard you have set for yourself, unless you tell them. Unless they have some preconceived expectation of you, they will not know if you meet, fall short, or even exceed your expectations of yourself. All they will know is that you have cared enough to share something that is important to you with them. Another source of trepidation is the thought of getting feedback, in particular, unwanted negative feedback. Anonymous feedback of any sort, on any topic, is unimportant. If a person is making a comment and they won't identify themselves, then they are obviously ashamed of what they are saying. And if they are ashamed of themselves, why should you pay any attention to them at all? And guess what? It rarely happens. Social media has made it easier for people to comment anonymously and to show the very worst side of themselves. But the majority of people aren't those people. Think of all the people you know. How many of them are people you would not want to spend time with? We choose the people we hang around with, so we should choose the people we associate with on the internet. Don't make a big thing about what you're doing, and you'll only attract the interest of people who are actually interested in what you're doing. And generally, they will be supportive and encouraging. That's what I've found every time I have put my work out there. Take this podcast, for example. I started it for a couple of reasons. One, because it keeps me on track with my learning. It's a little extra motivation each week to keep trying to get better, and it helps me track my progress. Also, it's the sort of show I'd like to listen to. I have no grand plans. The number of downloads is growing slowly, and I hope that you're getting something from your listening. And all I've had from people is support, even when something has gone wrong with the audio. And thanks for that. So it is unknown members of the public who are the biggest cause of public performance anxiety. I can say ignore them, which is probably the best advice. Unfortunately, it is hard advice to follow. When you've invested time and energy into doing something you care about, then a random person decides that they will feel good by making you feel bad. It hurts. So make yourself less of a target. When I'm teaching science in the classroom, I'm the expert. And so if I make a mistake, I can expect the class to pick me up on it. Luckily, it happens very rarely. But when I'm covering a music lesson and playing the piano, I'm honest with the students and let them know that I'm still learning. You've heard me play the Moonlight Sonata. You can recognise the piece, but it's an awfully long way from good so far. And not a single student has said anything negative. I've told them that they may well be better than me. In fact, many of them are. And they look at my playing in that light. And they're polite enough not to score cheap shots. If you put your work out for people to see, and you don't put any unearned airs and graces on, you'll find that people are overwhelmingly kind and generous. Approached carefully, that scary beast that is the general public will often turn out to be kind and generous if you give them a chance. So what are you waiting for? Get out into the public. I haven't bought any new piano-related items in the past few weeks. Weird, I know, especially as the Black Friday sales have been running since the beginning of November and are just about to wrap up to make way for the Christmas sales. I sort of have everything I need at the moment, and there wasn't anything of real value in the sales. Hence, nothing new this week. I have just noticed that the AMEB have released the Series 19 books for their piano exams. I will see if I can pick up a copy of the new Grade 1 book during the week. Bamboo Labs have set up warehousing in Australia, and they did have some good discounts, so the 3D printing got a boost. I'm still working out how to fit that in with the piano playing, though. There will be a bit more singing this week. Not the choir, which doesn't resume until rehearsals in January, but there is a Christmas song competition happening at school for the final day Christmas party. I'm with the Year 7 group, and they've got jingle bells. The girls are generally fine, but many of the boys are just too cool to join in. Based on this week's essay, I'm going to make an offer. If you'd like to get your playing out to some more people, get in touch. I'm thinking of adding a section to the shows where someone else tells us a little bit about their piano journey, where they're at, and then shares some of their music. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be you. It's still only an idea. I haven't made any concrete plans, but if you're interested, drop me an email and we can work something out. If you'd like to contact me, email is the best way. You'll find me at david@pianofinally.show and the website at www.pianofinally.show. In both cases, Piano Finally is all one word. The show is also available on Spotify and as an audio-only stream on YouTube. You can subscribe via any popular iOS or Android podcast application or from directories such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. I also post an excerpt and link of each episode as an Instagram reel. If you're learning an instrument, let me know where you are in your journey. Do you want to share your music? What's going well? And what are the challenges? And how are you managing your time? What pieces are you enjoying the most? And so, until next week, I hope your piano stays in tune and you enjoy your time at the keys. I'm continuing to work on the beginning of Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. It's slowly improving, very slowly, but there's still a way to go. I'm using the score, but mostly the notes I have made of the chord and note progressions. It's still fun, despite the slow going. I'm only up to the place where the melody begins, but I'm sure I'll move on soon. The flute piece is coming along nicely. I can play it at the correct tempo if I only use my right hand, but I slow down a fair bit when using both. At the moment, there are two main parts I'm concentrating on. Firstly, there are a number of places where the note in the left hand is played staccato, while the right hand note is legato. I usually get the staccato right, but then also play staccato with the other hand. I know I'll get there eventually. I've only recorded the right hand for this week. Winan Rossi's A Wild Chase is still nearing completion. I can now play the piece from memory. It's getting more even. The drum machine is helping, and once I'm happy with it being even, I'll start getting faster. The music was recorded using the Kawai NV10 as the keyboard, the M4 Pro Mac Mini running Cubase 15 and Pianotech 9, with Pianotech emulating a Shigeru Kawai SKEX grand piano in concert mode.